Hello students, I miss you already. I really do. Now, today we will be looking at and creating an art piece inspired by this very famous painting. It is Vincent Van Gogh's Starry Night. Now, as far as your India and Asian work goes, yes, it is very important that your trays get completed today. And your henna hands need to be completed today. So we will have this artwork to do first, and then when it is done, you need to work on your other work that is not complete, okay? So for now, focus on these instructions so that you can get this work done first. This is going to be Starry Night over China. Now, India is the country we've done the last two art pieces from, but we're also going to move into a different country from the continent of Asia, and that is China. They have a lot of unique art as well. And so what we're going to do is be inspired by Vincent Van Gogh's artistic elements. Now, if you notice, you see movement in this art piece. We see lines showing the wind pushing through the sky with those white wispy lines. We also see the stars. They're not the typical stars. We're using white, yellow, and orange lines going around in circles. We're also seeing the moon. A lot of people say it looks like the sun because of the colors that Vincent used. But it's actually the moon. It's just a very almost magical moon with the way that it's glowing, it would seem. And then you'll also see, if you look down below, you'll see a cityscape. You'll see the city down in the foreground, which is the bottom of the painting. That's what a foreground is. And these homes aren't perfect photograph homes. This is a painted homes. So they're unique. They're not meant to be exactly from a photograph. They're supposed to be kind of magical and mystical. So when you're working on this art piece, I want you to know that your task is not to make this harder than it should be, okay? It's going to be kind of magical, okay? It's a Starry Night inspired piece, so I don't want you to feel stressed by it at all. You're going to have fun with this. So your tools are going to be a blue piece of paper, a white drawing paper, pencil, oil pastels, scissors, glue, and 2 sizes of Sharpies, and we'll probably do some sharing of whatever's available. So definitely make sure your name and teacher's name is on the back of your paper. Now the idea is our target is to make a multimedia piece by doing an observational drawing. And so we're looking at Chinese architecture. Architecture is an art form. So to doing cityscapes, we're looking at the city and you're looking at those buildings, okay? China has some of the very unique architecture, very different from the art buildings here in America. Very unique structures. You'll see the in and out kind of, it almost looks like a pine tree with how they have their roofs looking. Or even this kind of, this is like a palace almost with the curved top. Again, you see that in and out movement. So they have a very unique architecture there. And I have about 4 different examples. Use that to kind of guide your sketch. Find those elements that you see in those Chinese architecture buildings, all right? So before you start with the observational sketch, you're going to go ahead and get your Starry Nightscape going. You're going to, by using a paper towel, you're going to get your oil pastels. You're going to make sure they're clean. They get dingy, so you got to wipe them, otherwise they'll put dingy stuff on your in your picture. You're going to cover the whole page with those stars and a moon, and then as you go out, the further out from the stars and moon, you use the darker colors just to do filler. They filled in the whole page. That's what he did. He used like dark blues and dark colors to fill in outside of the moon and stars. So I have purple here. I might even throw a little red up in here. And then that's, by the end of it, the whole page, the whole sky was filled with these beautiful wispy lines, which showed that movement in the sky. And so you'll take your time to fill it all the way in. And you can really have fun with it and really take your time because that's what you got here. And remember, we talk about landscape And the important thing when it comes to landscape is being aware that you really don't want, your building to be glued on here and then a gap and then your sky. That's not how the sky works. The sky is seamless. The sky is always around us when we step outside. So you don't want to have gaps in your picture here. So you're going to fill up the entire page so that as your building goes in and out, there's always sky components there. Now I'm the teacher, so I'm probably not going to fill this up because I'm not here to do a whole art picture with you. I'm here to tell you how to do it. So after you fill up the whole page, and I mean you're going to fill up the whole page, take the whole time to do your dots in those lines and in those circles, going around and around. Once it's completely done, I mean you're going around and around. Okay? Once it's completely filled, you're doing the whole thing. When you've done, you put your oil pastels to the side, and then you can get your white drawing paper. You're going to kind of decide about the length and width you're going to do it. So you're going to trace with a pencil the bottom and top to see about know the size you'll be able to do your buildings. Just so you have, alright, an amount. So now you can kind of decide what you want to kind of do a sketch. Now don't be overwhelmed. This is just giving you an outline and then you can go back in and put details. And then you can kind of roll with it however you want, and you can mix and match. You could pick this building and then maybe throw this building next to it, or do two buildings next to each other. Just start with one to get you started. I think I'll just start with this one. And so if I look at the top, I have this look at the shapes. If it's too overwhelming, look at the shapes. There's a triangle shape, but it kind of dips. So I'm going to do this triangle dip that comes down, and then I see it kind of goes out this way, and then kind of comes out, and then it flattens, and then I got this thing that kind of comes in, right? And then it comes like down and out again, and out and in, right? And then down, out, in, down, out, in, down, out, and in. Okay? And then I got this guy over here. He's doing the same thing. Does the same kind of thing up here. Down, out, and in. Down, out, and in. Down, out, and in. Down, out, and in. Down, bigger out, and in. And then, I mean, it really kind of goes all over the place with the different outs and ins. And it kind of curves and arches here, out. And we'll just go in there, it don't matter. And then I got this triangle shape here. This thing was here like this. And this is right here like that. We'll say it goes like that. And then I've got some columns. We'll say it goes here for this floor. Because we'll say that went out. Because if this is the top here, this comes down here. That's the top there, so this comes down here. So this is the floor. And then this here, so this comes down here. This is the floor. Right? So you take your time figuring it all out. It gets a little screwy. It's kind of confusing, and that's okay. And then here we come down. Let's say this is the floor. And then I've got some fencing here. So you take your time, and once you start getting to the real details, don't use your pencil for it. I want you to use a Sharpie. So after you've got your main outlines going on, then you're going to go back through and you're going to add in details. Now I'm starting to make this up as I go along. I'm just going to kind of, based on what some things I'm seeing arches, I'm seeing lines here, I'm seeing this is like the roof, I'm seeing there's probably there's fencing here. I'm going to add that in with Sharpie though. And then there's like a little thing at the top here, and a little thing at the top here, and those things, Sharpie it up. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to get this Sharpie. And then I'm going over it. And then I'm going to come down with my Sharpie, and I'm going to start covering it up. And this is how you get going on your house and your buildings. And you're adding in those fine details. And that's why we have the extra fine Sharpie too, so you can add in the windows if you're doing the fencing. And you need to take your time. This particular building is a little confusing because it's got all the layers. I mean, how many floors is that? My goodness. But it can look really cool when it's all said and done. Just depends which ones you want to do. But that's what's interesting about that, because Chinese architecture is very, very unique. I think our buildings, we have several floors in our buildings, but it's with an elevator and it's a big rectangle. There's not a lot of this ins and outs and ins and outs. So this just makes it a lot more interesting when you compare different countries and their architecture. And architecture is, in fact, an art form. So as I go through, I'm not going to finish this. I am your teacher. I'm not here to show you how to do an entire art piece. I'm telling you how you are going to do the art piece. I'm not going to do the whole art piece. So you're going to go through. You're going to fill it in. You're going to take your fine thing. You're going to add in the fences. You're going to add in those special details, the little marks. You're going to do your little details here with the roofs. Whatever it is, okay? That's where the fine Sharpie comes in. When it's all said and done and your building is completely ready, then you will cut it out completely. Woo! Careful not to rip it. Luckily, I'm going to use a glue stick and glue it on, so that's not an issue. And you're going to go in and out. In and out. When it's all cut out, the plan is to have it glued right at the base of the cityscape. And then you can go in and add more buildings to fill up the whole foreground, okay? Because this is only one building. I did a really big building. Here, let me just cut it off for a second. Cut it out nicely, okay? I just want to make sure I've got it so you can see. Cut this nice. But the idea is that you're going to fill up with your building. So you'll need a couple more to fill in your foreground here. So you'll add in all your fine details, fill in the foreground, and that way you'll have your Starry Night over China. And so that kind of gives you that idea of doing the Starry Night movement with the lines, and then also looking at those details in the Chinese architecture. If you have any questions, ask your substitute teacher. Remember, when this is done, look for your Madhubani designs. Make sure you have put them on your trays with the Sharpies. You may add 3 colors, no more, to those designs with the symmetry. And then you may finish your hand designs. Oil pastels around the hands, watercolor in the hands and on the borders. When all that is finished and all that is clean and complete, then you can do something from the finisher kit. But this will take you time. Don't rush. These are going to look cool. I'm looking at them. They're going to stay at school for a grade. Have a good day.